Greetings, Mark Garang, publisher of the Conway Daily Sun. It's been a while since we've done an interview here at the Sun headquarters on Seavey Street in North Conway. And today, my guest is Christopher Bellis, who's president of White Mountains Pride and the festival. So, Christopher, let's talk about what's happening this weekend, starting on Friday. Most of it's on Saturday. And then we'll talk about some issues, and then we'll go. So what's going on this weekend?
So actually, it's not just this weekend. We have activities all week this week at Abenaki Trail. We're doing happy hour every day, Pride happy hours from 4 to 7 at Abenaki Trail Restaurant. Tomorrow night, Wednesday, we have a Cones for a Cause at Trails End Ice Cream Shop
Up here in Interville.
Yep. And all the sales that day, they'll be donating proceeds, some portion of proceeds to White Mountains Pride. So we hope that people will come out and support that. And then on Thursday, we have a community bake at the Flatbread Company in their new location. And again, they're donating a portion of every pizza sale or a flatbread sale that they're making that day to White Mountains Pride, and we'll be there. And then Friday, we're doing a couple of drag story hours, one at the Conway Public Library, the other at the Pope Memorial Library here in North Conway. And then on Friday, as you mentioned, we have the festival, which is from 10 to 4.
On Saturday or Friday?
Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday from 10 to 4 in the North Conway Community Center Park.
Okay, now it's funny you said that. I know. Go ahead. Because I looked at it and said, I know it is Schuler Park, but you're right. It's actually to the North Conway Community Center side of the ski museum.
It's located between the ski museum is on the right, the North Conway Community Center is in the front, and the parking lot for the North Conway Country Club is in the back. And so there's an open field area there, and that's where we'll be set up on Saturday from 10 to 4. We have lots of entertainment planned, as well as 55 vendors, including food, retail, and nonprofit vendors. So it looks like it's going to be a great day and lots of great people to see.
And how many years have you've been doing this now?
White Mountains Pride was founded in 2019.
And are you the founder?
I'm one of the original founding members. And, it was begun primarily to promote acceptance for the LGBTQIA plus communities within the White Mountains region, and to create an opportunity where we can celebrate each other and where we can promote acceptance and diversity within the valley, and have businesses and others come together in a celebration every year. And
the acronym has grown over the years. LGBTQ. What's the plus?
So the acronym, actually started way many years ago with, it used to be just gay, and then it became GL, gay and lesbian.
Right.
And then I believe it transitioned to LG, lesbian, gay.
Yeah.
B and T then got added. Bisexual. T for transgender.
Sure.
So LGBT, and then Q, I.
What's Q?
And A. So Q can either represent queer or questioning, depending on, there's more than one word that the letter applies to.
But what does queer mean?
So
in today's world,
queer is a way of identification that people might use to identify their gender or their sexuality, and it's each individual who's using that term interprets it in their own way.
But that's not gay.
No, not because it is identified as something different than gay or lesbian or transgender or...
Okay, I guess the question is, what else is there? Either you're straight, you're gay, you're transgender, you're bi.
So the acronyms at the moment, LGBT,
right.
Q,
right.
I is intersex, A is asexual,
Yeah. And I is, say that again?
Intersex.
And that is?
So I don't have the appropriate definition open in front of me at the moment. But there are folks within the community who identify as intersex, and I would encourage people to look it up online.
Is that like a fluid thing between?
Again,
Okay.
I don't have the definition
Okay.
open in front of me.
And then the plus.
And then plus represents any other community that may not be already specifically mentioned within the.
Right. Okay, well, that's a lot. Hopefully, are there going to be any more acronyms than you think? Any more letters?
I'm not in charge of acronyms.
Is that who does that? Is that like a national?
No.
No.
No. That is just, different organizations, start to recognize different communities in different ways based on the communities and how they are expressing themselves and how they want to be recognized.
All
and
right.
that's why I don't want to speak on behalf of any communities in terms of interpreting what their letters are.
Fair enough. How has the festival changed over these few years?
Well, there was one big change in 2020, which was we didn't have it for 2 years
Okay.
Due to COVID. So we did a great grand initial celebration in 2019, had all the plans ready to go for 2020, and then they kind of went down the tubes because of COVID. And we waited until 2022 to bring the festival back. But it's only grown each year with more people participating, more vendors participating. We've always had music and celebration, food vendors and other retail vendors, but it's just gotten bigger every year.
So you haven't found that there's one thing that you start anything in life, right? You see what works and what doesn't work. So your approach is to just enlarge it by more vendors, more entertainment, so forth. There's nothing that has surprised you about the festival in terms of what it should offer?
I mean, I think it's pretty well defined in the universe what a festival is. All
right, let's go through the letters on that. F is for what? No.
So, I mean, in general, what people expect at a festival, is entertainment,
Right.
vendors, food, drink,
Right.
and fun.
Yeah.
Right? So we went into it preparing for that when we did our initial festival, and we've only grown because everybody wants to have fun, everybody wants to eat, everybody wants to drink, everybody wants to be entertained, and everybody likes to kind of walk around and shop.
Yep.
So what more?
Yep. All you do is it's this Saturday, so you just have to figure out how to avoid a little rain that's coming Saturday morning.
Well, I'm hopeful that the rain may not come,
Yeah.
or may be done by the time the festival starts.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, I mean, there's a lot of, and we can talk about some of the specifics legislative that's happening in the House, in New Hampshire House, but the House is way more conservative than it used to be. And so without talking about the specifics, which I'd like to get into in a second, do you notice a change in attitude either about transgenders or gay locally? I mean, is any of that filtered up, I guess, this way?
So, change is always something that is difficult to kind of talk about in any particular moment because the whole world changes every day, every week, every year, and things adjust, right? So I think what I hear you saying is, are things getting better?
Yeah.
Are things getting worse?
Acceptance-wise.
Acceptance-wise.
Right.
And I would say that, we've seen a growth of acceptance and support for LGBTQIA folks within the Valley since the festival started in 2019.
You have a lot of commercial support, business support.
We have business support. Check out our website at whitemountainspride.com/sponsors to see all our sponsors, or vendors to see all our vendors. So there's lots of support out there, but as the support for the community has grown, in the last couple of years, I've also been seeing a growth in some individuals' empowerment to speak hate toward others publicly, either online or in person. And that concerns me.
And how is that? What evidence do you have? I mean, is that just on social media?
I see posts on social media. Yeah. I've had people call out things, walking down the street.
Right.
So I've experienced it in many different scenarios. This is not just something that is particular to North Conway. This is something that is probably broader across the country. That there's an empowerment of people to speak negative words about other people.
It seems like, whether it's this issue or other issues, like that whole idea of empowerment, that people are less afraid to speak out, I think it one idea or one part of that is that social media has accelerated that. Like people can say what the heck they want on social media, and therefore it gets translated in other places in life, or usually otherwise before that people just kind of, a little more careful what they said. So how much is it that, or how much do you think it's a change in the political climate?
I'm not sure that I would lay it on political climate or I would lay it on social media. Social media existed, prior to 2019. I've been seeing more of this probably since 2022. This emboldened nature. So I wouldn't lay it on politics. I wouldn't lay it on social media. I would lay it on this concept that, or maybe an idea that people have been encouraged to express hate. And I don't believe that we should be expressing hate. I think, our goal is acceptance, not just for those in the LGBTQIA communities, but also for everybody, and we should never be expressing hate toward any other group or person in any fashion whatsoever. And it saddens me that we're now in a cultural moment. So I think it's a cultural shift, where people feel emboldened to express hate for people that they don't know. And the reality is, if they knew the individuals in question that they were talking about, they wouldn't express hate because they would know the people. And they're expressing hate against a concept or a belief system that they might have or something else that is going on in their lives. And that's unfair to individuals. And I try not to talk in hate terms about anybody else. And I would hope that they would try not to talk in hate terms around me or about anybody else.
Fair enough. I mean, in the state house, in our state house, New Hampshire State House, there's no legislation, I don't think, pending or current that directly is about gays, but definitely about transgenders. So a couple of the big ones are this puberty blockers. So there's legislation that I think is passed or it's going to be passed, where it would basically prevent a parent on a parent's direction and a doctor's direction to administer puberty blockers, right? And that's a interesting concept because conservatives would say, hey, parents should have control to do with their kids, except in this case. So, and the other one is the Parental Bill of Rights. And that has passed, and that mandates that teachers, if one of their students comes and confides with the teacher that he or she is gay or trans or whatever, anything, that they're compelled to tell the parent. And I know, I mean, whether it's about gays or whatever, I know when I was in high school, people confided with their teachers all the time about stuff they didn't want their parents to know about, girlfriends, boyfriends, who knows what. And of course, that's definitely a conservative measure. And one of the issues with that is that there are a lot of parents, I mean, not just here, but nationally, that reject their kids when they find out that they're transgender at 13 or 14 or whatever. I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, and one could argue that it's a wedge issue, even though there's nothing on the legislative docket that directly affects gays, but it seems like, that's the next step.
Well, I think in the political universe, issues around the transgender community or transgender concepts or ideals are being used as a political wedge issue because people don't necessarily understand what the issues are. And if they met the families or met the individuals in question and were able to learn more directly about what the impacts on them as a family are or them as an individual are, I think that they would be in full support of acceptance for transgender folks and whatever they may be going through. But when people don't know, when people don't understand, politicians will insert themselves and try to make it a wedge issue and that they don't understand. So you had a couple of different ideas that you put on the table. One was, puberty blockers. Ultimately, I believe that a person, regardless of what age they are, and their doctor, and those who are responsible for that person's care, if they are under the age of consent or, under 18 or whatever the consent, that ultimately the doctor, the person in question, and the designated family member should have the ability to decide what is best for that individual and go through whatever process that they need in order to have the best health outcomes that they need. So I don't think it's right for politicians to insert themselves into the relationship between a doctor and a patient, because ultimately a doctor knows what's best for their patient, and we should trust in that relationship. I mean, I think you probably have a doctor. I have doctors. Everybody maybe not everybody has a doctor, but many people have doctors. And I would not want the government telling my doctor what my care should be.
And I assume that same approach applies to the Parental Bill of Rights, that why should the state intervene between a relationship between a student and a teacher if that student wants to confide in that teacher?
Right. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, the whatever the compact is, I don't think politicians should be inserting themselves into school relationships. I do believe that in schools there are guidelines for, how information is discussed with parents, how information is discussed with students, and why the government would feel the need to step into that relationship and dictate, well, if it's on this issue, you should talk to the parents, and if it's on this issue, you don't have to talk to the parents, And ultimately, what you want to do is create a bond of trust between the student and the teacher. And having arbitrary rules or interference in that, whatever that trust relationship is, will only lead to negative results, I think, in my opinion, because what it will lead to is students not sharing with teachers. And that is a more dangerous outcome for any student if they don't feel that they can share what they are going through with a trusted adult within their lives.
Transgender issues has been an issue for on the left and right politically. What is the percentage of population that's transgender?
I don't have access to that data. And it's also not something that's listed on the census or in any regular data collection. But it's, compared to any other segment of society, it's not the largest segment of society in any way, shape, or form.
One of the interesting statistics that I read is that when President Trump signed the executive order to ban transgenders in collegiate sports, women's sports, and there were 500,000 women who participate in collegiate sports, only 10 transgenders.
Yes.
So it's a pretty small number.
Well, and you're bringing up a very specific concept, which is professional sports and transgender athletes, which is another wedge issue that politicians are using to within their political realms. And the reality is it doesn't impact people, and if you met the athletes in question and understood their stories, you would not have any concerns whatsoever about them participating in sports events or, in whatever way they needed to.
The drag story hours, that's Friday, right?
Correct.
So explain, what's the purpose of that? As an outsider with all this, I look at it as that it's, from the public's perception, because it's controversial, the drag story hours have been controversial, that it's kind of like waving a red flag and giving the conservatives, a real issue. Whether it's, I'm not saying it's a legitimate issue, but it just seems as though, all these issues are fraught with politics, and it just seems like that is, literally raise, a red flag to a lot of people. So what's the genesis of it? What's the point of the
well,
you're
kind of, Genesis, I don't know I was not involved in the genesis of the drag story hours, what I do know is I know the personal stories of youth that have felt isolated and alone because of how they feel. So drag story hours are stories that talk about youth or kids or people or bears or whatever the story happens to be about, whoever the characters are, that they feel different than everybody else. And I will say that when I was growing up in conversation with many other people who identify as LGBTQIA+, they felt different growing up, and therefore they felt alone. I did not feel that I could talk to my parents about my sexuality. I did not feel I could talk to my teachers about my sexuality. I did not feel I could talk to anybody about it. And different people have different experiences. When they feel alone and isolated, then it can lead to depression. It can lead to self-harming behaviors, and any number of things. And so drag story hours as a concept are about telling stories about people who feel alone or different and showing that there is acceptance for those people who may feel alone or different in the universe. So there's one story that I've read, which is about a box of crayons. And one of the colors feels different than all the rest. And they are, in fact, different than all the rest. But the story is about helping them. I find that they do have a place within the broader universe. And that is a message I think that we want to send to all our kids, that no matter how they feel, whether they feel alone, whether they feel connected, that all of us have a place in this universe and should be accepted.
Is there an age appropriateness for this? I mean, the story hour is like for 2- and 3-year-olds, right?
No, I would never suggest that it was, for just 2- or 3-year-olds. It's for kids.
Okay.
And if you think about kids and, what is age-appropriate books? Would you be handing a 7-year-old a novel to read? Probably not in most cases, although there are some kids out there who can read a novel and would have a great time. So I generally feel as though under 12s is the age category, and
but it's up to the parents, obviously, whether they want to go. If they have a 2-year-old and they don't think it's appropriate,
yeah,
they don't go.
I'm not going out on the streets,
Right.
and dragging people into drag story hour, So ultimately, it's up to the family whether they bring their kids and what the appropriate age is for the conversation. But the conversation is about difference and acceptance.
Okay, and this is an uninformed question. The drag story hour readers, are they transgender?
So drag story hours are performers who appear in drag. Drag is a costume.
Okay.
That's it.
So it could be, you're not saying they're transgender, that they're not necessarily anything, any particular,
Correct.
Okay.
They are performers who are dressed up in drag. Drag is traditionally known to be cross-dressing, so man dressed as female or female dressed as male, but not every drag performer dresses as male or female. So, there's whatever costume they choose to wear for the event, that's how they're telling the story.
Yeah. And we know that in Shakespearean times, men were dressed as women often on theater, in vaudeville.
Well, yes, in theater, not on the streets.
Right, I got that. All right, let's lighten it up a little bit.
Sure.
Rob, we have a couple of photos of a little bit of a preview. And Christopher, if you could describe them.
So I think these are some photos from prior Pride festivals.
All right, that's just people.
Yep. Some of the vendors. And that was a tattoo. That's a picture of a drag story hour. That's one of the performers that we're going to have this year.
I think I've seen her. Was she here before? Were they here before?
I'm not sure that this one.
Okay.
This I think is new this year. Carissa Johnson is also a performer at the festival, new this year.
And what kind of music?
I have not heard their music yet. So, but I believe that they live more in the rock side of music.
Yep.
That's the drag story hour photo again. That's Reverend Yolanda, and that's Reverend Yolanda again, who is the MC for our festival and is also the reader at our drag story hours on the Friday. That's Felicia Cruz, I believe. They performed a couple of years ago at the festival.
Okay.
And are returning. Food for Bears, local group. I don't know that they'll be dressed as bears, but we'll see.
Hopefully not on a hot day. But.
And that's the Bad Judies, who are a performing group that's returning this year. They first performed at the festival last
Their
year.
music?
They live in the kind of pop universe,
All right.
you know.
Yep.
And that's another photo from the festival.
Yep.
And that's me and Reverend Yolanda on stage, I think, at last year's festival.
Good. So
And that's us.
that's great. So we only have a couple minutes left. So why don't we, if you don't mind, just kind of review what the itinerary is in the program over the next couple days.
Great. So Wednesday, we have Cones for a Cause at Trails End. Any ice cream that you get at Trails End, a portion of that will be donated to White Mountains Pride. Thursday, we have Flatbread Community Bake benefiting White Mountains Pride. Any pizzas ordered between in the evening hours, a portion of those sales will be donated to White Mountains Pride. And at both of those events, we will have a table set up and be promoting White Mountains Pride. Friday, we have the Drag Story Hours at 10:30 in the morning at the Conway Public Library and at 2 p.m. at Pope Memorial Library, with Reverend Yolanda being the reader at both of those. And then on Saturday, June 28th, from 10 to 4, that's at the festival, which is at the North Conway Community Center Park, which is approximately the 2600 block of White Mountain Highway, which is the easiest address to figure out. And we will have 55 vendors, as well as entertainment, as well as lots of good times available and ready. And you can go to our website at whitemountainspride.com/events. There are other events that are taking place, you know, this week and on Sunday after the Pride Festival. So check all of those out. You'll have a great time.
Great. And you are the proprietor and owner of Cranmore Inn.
I was.
You're not now. So is there another inn in your future?
No, there is not another inn in my future.
Huh?
Well, I don't know that it's because of the job. I think, you know, I've reached a certain age where I'm heading more toward retirement, although it doesn't necessarily feel that way. Because in addition to running the inn, I have also worked a full-time job as a fundraiser. I am also the president of White Mountains Pride. I'm the treasurer for M&D Playhouse. I've done other volunteer gigs.
You're a busy guy.
So I try to stay busy,
Yeah.
and I've continued to stay busy. So, but my husband and I are currently looking to probably move from the area at some point. You know,
Just time to move on?
Well, my husband has a medical diagnosis where warm weather is better for him. So it's important to try to get him the warm weather that he needs. Also, our kids have finished high school and are now off. And
well, the community is going to miss you, Christopher. I can say that. Good luck with that. And of course, good luck with the festival. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, thank you.